And good morning, this is Michael Lodge. I am the business advisor, and I'm here to talk to you again and again and again. You're not going to get rid of me, that's for sure. I've had my coffee, I'm ready to go. It's a beautiful morning out today. A little cloudy, but nice and cool. It's currently 69 degrees. South Carolina, that's a good morning during the summertime. Just a few more weeks and we're going to be in the fall. I believe in September 21st is when fall begins. And I'm looking forward to it. I have been thinking. And I think that in politics we really have a mental health crisis going on. We seem to have people in office that are not thinking about what they're doing. Some of them are so fixated on one man that they cannot see anything else. Everything that they do and say is about one man. And as we go through this life, we hear hateful things being said. I was listening to I was reading some of the comments of Erick Swalwell, who is a Democratic congressman from California. You all know him. He's accused of sleeping with a Chinese spy while he was married. Every single day he comes out with hateful comments. He comes out with hateful comments against the opposite party, about people, about Trump. And he has this obsession with Trump and the Trump people. Every single day, there's more hateful comments that he utters from his mouth. And then he wonders why he's getting threats from people. When you spout hate, you're going to get hate back of some form or fashion. It could be words, it could be threats, it could be all kinds of different things. But he says that his family, his children are being threatened. I think that when you threaten people, threats are going to come back. Because he has threatened Republicans. He's threatened Donald Trump. He's threatened people who say anything against him or about him. His hate is so obvious that it is literally scary, because he doesn't understand that when he spouts hate, hate comes back. That's what happens. That's what happens. Hate attracts more hate. Instead of addressing the needs of the American people, these politicians have become obsessed with one man. If you look at last night's congressional districts in Wyoming and Liz Cheney, for the last year she has become obsessed with one man. She forgot about all of her other responsibilities as a member of Congress to help the constituents she was supposed to be representing. No, her full focus was to destroy one man. I see this obsession, this hate, as a political mental health issue. Because when you become so obsessed with destroying another person's life, you have a mental health issue. When you are willing to say things and do things and make things up and lie and do corrupt things just so that you can destroy one man, we have a mental health issue. And it's a political mental health issue. And we've seen it also when Obama was president. The Republicans on one side had such an obsession to destroy one man that they became a politically mental health issue. When it goes so far where the hate is so strong, instead of dealing with the issues of the nation right now, and you become so obsessed with trying to destroy an individual politically, you do no service to the American people. We've seen it on both sides. Democrats are just as guilty as Republicans, and Republicans are just as guilty as Democrats. But we see this happening day in and day out. Now, the biggest issue is that we also have politicians who will make a political decision instead of an American decision of how it's going to affect the constituents that they represent. And we can look at this, and I know I've talked about it so much, and you're probably so freaking tired of me talking about it, but the Inflation Reduction Act was one of those bills that literally lied about what it was doing. And you can see it even now. You saw before the vote, you saw politicians coming out and say, yes, this is going to reduce inflation. This is going to help the American people. Once it was passed, then they turned the topic that this is a climate change. This is going to be great for climate change. And that's all that the Democrats have been talking about, how great it is for climate change. Now, I'm going to tell you, I've read through this bill, and I've looked at this bill very closely because it's going to affect my tax clients, and it's going to affect the business clients that I consult too. There is nothing in this bill that helps inflation. When you overspend money and when you grow the government, you inflate the government and you create inflation on the American people. Happens every single time. We saw it with all of these stimulus checks that went out. And it didn't stimulate the economy because people were sitting at home putting that money into crypto and Bitcoin and all this other nonsense. Nothing went into the stores. Nothing. That's why we have so much inventory right now stocked in trailers in the back because they can't sell it. They can't sell their barbecues and whatever else they may have. Americans do not spend it on stuff. They spend it on risk. Bitcoin, crypto, is a risk. But to get back to the subject, it was very clear that this bill was a complete failure because even the Congressional Budget Office came out and said, no, it's not going to do anything to reduce inflation. Solid economists have come out and said, no, this will do nothing to help inflation. So we have politicians who are willing to push a political agenda instead of saying, okay, what is this actually going to do to Americans? I saw an interview with a politician yesterday, and the question was asked, what part of this bill is going to reduce inflation? He said, next question. He would not answer the question because none of this bill reduces inflation. The whole bill is nothing more than raising the government by adding another thousands and thousands of IRS agents to the employment rolls. It has a bunch of money in there and gimmicks for people buying electric cars, which the American people can't afford. Only individuals in the upper income level can afford buying these cars. When you're looking at the price tag of $50,000 to $75,000 to over $100,000 on some of these electric vehicles, Americans can't afford it. We can't afford to go into debt. More and more people are seeing that their paychecks are not covering what they're supposed to cover to live life. Their housing, their rent, their food, their electricity, their utilities, and the core basics. Their inflation has eaten away at their wages. So what they have had to do is go and use a credit card. So we're at $1.13 trillion, the highest amount of consumer credit card debt ever in the history of this nation, because of inflation. And we have a whole bunch of other economic indicators that are coming that are going to hit us pretty soon. But yet we have not Republicans, we have Democrats who pushed this bill that did nothing to help the American public, nothing whatsoever. Because it was their political agenda that drove them. It wasn't the American people or the needs of the American people. I think we really have a strong political mental health crisis that needs to be discussed and talked about and deleted from our society. Because when a political agenda is so full of hate, it no longer becomes a political agenda. It becomes a hate crime, basically. Because now Americans suffer through inflation and recession. We have an issue that's coming up which really frightens me, and that is we are running out of food in the United States. And throughout the world, we're running out of food. That concerns me greatly, that we're not going to have food on our shelves in the next few months. And no one's addressing it. You don't hear it addressed in the media. You don't hear it addressed by politicians. You don't hear any plans on the table. Nothing's been put on the table to protect the American people of food shortages. Nothing's been put on the table to take care of our supply chain issues. Instead, what has been adopted is higher taxes, more IRS involvement in our lives, more spending by the United States government, more hate for one individual. They are so consumed with this political agenda that has become a hate agenda that Americans are suffering. So we have a food crisis. We have a real estate crisis about to hit us on foreclosures. We have the highest amount of credit card debt. And sooner or later, the banks are going to start turning off the spigot of credit. You saw Wells Fargo yesterday announced that they were going to stop and not be so involved in home mortgages. And there's a good reason for that. Because there's a problem. We're seeing more and more companies lay off. I just saw one tech company yesterday lay off 100 people. And it's going to keep building and building and building. So when you listen to the numbers that are being projected by the United States government, take them with a grain of salt, because there's really nothing to them, because what they're trying to do is spin something that isn't happening. We are in a recession. So we have got all of these politicians pushing these things upon the American people. Huge amounts of spending, huge amounts of new taxes, huge amounts of IRS involvement in our lives, in our business lives. We have really got to think this November. Are we going to make a vote for people who will do something for us, or are we going to be in trouble because we're making political decisions instead of what is needed for America? What's happening now is not needed for America. That's not America. But we have a choice in November to make a vote, to make a change, and that's what we need to focus on. We already know what our decisions are going to be. So if you know what that is, focus on your business. Focus on your family financials. If you need help, let me know. If you want more access to me, you can go to www.lodge-co.com. Everybody, you're out. Have a great day. Love you all. Thinking about you all. You're in my prayers. Bye-bye.